we have been very conservative in our spending related to the COVID pandemic. So we did purchase some masks and some hand sanitizer. We purchased, I believe, 4 laptops when we had employees working from home. And then we purchased a piece of equipment that sanitizes the back of the equipment in the back of the ambulances, and also a piece of equipment that sanitizes the playground structures and benches and trash cans and stuff on city streets and public parks. And so my best estimate is that we have probably spent just under $25,000, and the amount that we would be allocated is just over $212,000. That money can be spent on additional items such as overtime costs for public safety employees as they were responding to the COVID pandemic. And then it can also be used for programs for the community, whether it's like rental grants for the public or grants or loans for the businesses. And I also would like to say, though, that our budget is balanced for the current fiscal year, and it's not dependent on receiving these funds.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other comments, questions? Council?
I'll jump in here real quick. I just want to go over a few numbers. Everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to go over a few numbers. The city of Fresno learned back in April that they were going to get $93 million from the government, from the CARES Act money. If we compare what our citizens are worth to what Fresno citizens are worth, we'll see that our citizens are worth about $12.84 per person. If we look at Fresno, we can see that their citizens are worth $175.40 per person. Why is there such a big discrepancy? Why does the governor and our state representatives feel that we are worth less than what the citizens of Fresno are worth? So that, for one, really pisses me off. That also is 10% of Fresno's budget. What the state is trying to give us is 2%. Think about that. Think about the fairness there. Is that really fair? I don't think it is. Fresno has so much money that they put aside $38 million of that money that they got from the government to hold it in hopes that there's rule changes so they can spend it the way they want to. We're over here trying to get lunch money from the governor, and the governor is being a little school bully out there trying to steal our lunch money at $12.84 per person. That's lunch. Well, Fresno gets a whole $175.47. So I'm not buying into what the governor's saying. I ain't drinking his Kool-Aid. As for now, my vote's going to be to keep the resolution the way it is.
Thank you. Any other comments? Excuse me.
Yeah, my comment on this situation that we're in is that we went into this situation knowing what the outcome could possibly be. Okay, we did this for the businesses and the citizens of Coalinga that we represent. We were elected to have their back in the time of need. And I think it's time for us to stand up and not be bullied, shoved, and pushed around and continue the path that we're on. And if we need to take it to the next level and take them to court or whatever we need to do, that's fine. But I think we need to stand up, step up, and be heard, and not just sit back and take what he says as golden, because our businesses are what we thrive on. Our citizens are what we thrive on. So if we don't show them support, how are we going to grow? I mean, if we fall, then where do they have to stand? We have to continue the path that we're on. I mean, he can't control us like that.
I agree. I think we're setting the precedent here as to if we are a city that supports its businesses or if we are a city that doesn't. Like I said, the governor's just being a school bully right now. He's just trying to steal our lunch money. He's so one-sided, it's ridiculous. We look back in April and we see that he closed down protests on the state capitol because people were protesting to open back up. But he closed those protests down, but then in June, he opens protesting back up again. So the social justice people and the people that he agrees with can go and protest again. He's gone so far to tell us what a meal is and how we can have a beer and what foods we can and can't eat. He's gone and closed our churches down and said, you can't go to church and you can't sing at church, but you can go protest. You can do that. That's fine. But don't go to church. But he needs to realize that our churches have a higher calling and it's not to him. I have no doubt that if we agree to keep this resolution, that he's going to come back at us with something. And he will try and be more punitive than he already is. But that's pretty much all I have to say right now.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I just agree with both of them on that too. I think we made a statement when we voted for what we got right now. And I think if we have any stamina to us, we have to stay with it. You have to think what you're going to vote on before you vote on it, and then stick by what you vote on. So I'm going to stay with my vote too. And I think you're right. I think the governor's going to come back and try to do punitive stuff on us. But I think the majority of California will see it in their own, and maybe we can replace this governor, because I think that's what it's going to take. And I just be ready, and I'm ready for the onslaught, and I think everybody else is here too. So that's basically all I have to say right now. I would rather just keep the ordinance as we have it right now. That's all.
Any other? Tanya?
Well, I'm actually the one that requested this because I felt we needed to talk about it again since we're being treated like bad children by the governor. I'm listening to everybody and processing if my vote will remain the same or change. I don't like that he's doing this to us, singling us out, not only us. I know there's another community. I don't think it's fair, but a lot in life isn't fair. And the rules are the rules and the laws are the laws, but we have to look out for our community and our small businesses, because if we lose them, there's going to be nothing here. And it'll probably be a worse devastation than what people say happened after the earthquake.
Any other comments or discussion? Go ahead.
Marissa, you said you had the pros and the cons of this. Can you kind of touch on that just a bit?
Yes. So some things that really stood out to me is in 2019, when Mayor Lander and Councilwoman Stoles and I went to ICSC Recon in Las Vegas to try to recruit businesses to come to Coalinga, one thing that we continuously heard is we don't do business in California, or we are not expanding in California because California is not business friendly. And so in 2020, we started a campaign to make Coalinga the most business-friendly city in the state of California. Unfortunately, ICSC Recon was canceled this year due to COVID, but all of our material identifies Coalinga as being the most business-friendly city in the state of California, because that was our mission for this year and moving forward. And so a lot of times when we have to make decisions at the staff level, my question to staff is always, well, is that being the most business-friendly city in the state of California? And that helps us in choosing the correct answer. And so part of this whole process is we've heard from the small business owners and we've heard from the community. And a lot of them have spoken, and they want the city to stand with the businesses to say that a governor who's never been to the city of Coalinga does not know which businesses are essential and which ones are not. And so the council has taken the position that all businesses are essential. You can certainly change your mind and you can rescind that resolution. However, that doesn't necessarily make us the most business-friendly city in the state of California. Additionally, right now we're being told that the state will withhold the CARES Act funding if we do not rescind the resolution. So we know that we potentially would not get the $212,000 and some change, which again, our budget is not dependent on that. One concern with that, though, with not rescinding the resolution, is that we don't know what else the state may do. Will they say that Coalinga is no longer eligible for state grants? Will they withhold additional funding from the city that we need in order to operate, that our budget is dependent on? Will they take punitive action in other ways? And so at this point, we just don't know, but that's something to keep in the back of your mind. And then the only real benefit to rescinding the resolution is that the state is telling us that that's the only thing that we need to do in order to receive those funds. And while the city is able to retain a portion of those funds if the council so chooses, those funds can be used to benefit the local businesses and the residents. Some ways that other cities are doing that is grants or loans for small businesses and rental grants for residents who have been impacted by COVID-19. And so while I broke the numbers down by population of individual citizens or businesses, I mean, we can assume that not every business or every citizen is going to be in need. And so you have the ability to potentially help hundreds of citizens and or several businesses if the money is received. But that's really the only benefit that I can see to rescinding the resolution. And so it is a tough decision for the council to make, and probably not one to be taken lightly, but there's pros and cons for whichever option you choose today.
Can you tell us how much we're getting in the first installment, or how much we should be getting in the first installment? It's not that much, is it?
So I may be wrong, but my understanding was that it was 1/6 of the total amount. And that was just told to me by another city manager. I don't have anything from the state telling us what the percentage or amount would be.
So I heard something similar, that was going to be somewhere around 38,000. I mean, really, who are we going to help with $38,000? Not that many people in a town this big. And then the rest of the money, it comes in increments. It doesn't come all at once. So we only have a little bit of money here, and we're going to get a little bit more money, and then a little bit more money. It's not like we can help everyone all at once.
I have a question for Mario. What kind of legal repercussion can come upon the city or council, in your opinion or your thoughts, above and beyond the governor possibly taking away state grants and however else he thinks he's going to punish us?
I think that's basically overall just withholding funds or putting a lot of strings on different funds. You guys have seen that when we dealt with like prevailing wage, where they just say, hey, you're gonna do this, you're gonna pay prevailing wage, or you're not gonna be entitled to grants anymore. So it's gonna be a lot of things like that. It's not gonna be, there's not gonna be any individual liability or anything like that, but it's gonna be, possibly withholding funds or putting extra strings on funds that weren't there before.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments or questions? Mercedes has a comment there from.
I received a comment from Glenn Mitchell. The thrift store employs 6 people at this time. The foundation has provided compliance materials consistent with Cal OSHA and the state.
Thank you. Any other?
So another question, Mario. So the government can do its thing and withhold, but can we go after the governor for our funds since they're federally funded?
Yeah, I think if we're going to have another conversation in closed session, but I will tell you that if you look at the letter that was sent and that's attached in the agenda from the congressman, it lays out that there are certain strings that were attached to that money federally. And the Treasury Department said that states, when they give out this money, there's criteria that the states have to follow, and only that. So there aren't any additional criteria that the state can impose on the disbursement of those funds. So to answer your question, yes, and it would be along those lines, basically saying that the state imposed funds or additional requirements on those funds when they just didn't have the ability to do so. Congress made it very clear what they wanted those monies to go for, and the Treasury Department then said you can only enact certain regulations to impose those specific rules. So that's there's a clear disconnection between what the governor is saying now and the requirements for that money.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, any other comments? Questions? Okay. Under this, I have another over here. Mercedes?
I have a comment from Michelle Helmar. How many Coalinga businesses would be impacted? Ones that are open now, but would be considered non-essential under state guidance.
Well, I, for one, can tell you that because we are controlled by the state of California in my business, and people that are in the cosmetology business are subject to fines by the state of California because we are licensed by the state of California. So I know that it has and will continue to impact us, people that are in the hair business or the nail business, because we're licensed by the state. As far as the other businesses, I do believe that most all of them are open, with the exception, I understand, of the fitness lab and one other facility. I also understand that the movie theater has been closed. It's not closed, but I mean, it's impacted. So, but other than that, the restaurants are all doing takeout. I've been around checking that. They're all doing that. Basically, that's it. I know it's a difficult situation. It's difficult for myself and my business, but unfortunately, I have to comply. I cannot stand or afford, let's put it this way, I cannot afford to have a heavy fine put on me or the person that works for me, or even have my license suspended, which they have threatened to do. So we are subject to their whim. As far as the rest, the majority of business, because I've driven around and looked, as I said, and watched.
Mayor,
Yes.
just for a second, I don't think we should say which businesses are open and which businesses aren't, because I think the government might be listening to us right now, and I don't want them to go there and close anybody. So if we've already gave them the permission that they're essential businesses, and if they want to open, they can, as far as Coalinga is concerned. But if they're going against what the state wants, I don't want to give the state their names and which businesses they are, if they're a church or if they're a fitness center or anything like that. I would rather just, if the state wants to come in there and do it, it's up to them, but I don't want to give them any names or anything.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, so do we have a motion? Well, we have discussion, direction, potential action regarding rescinding resolution number 3964, declaring all business in the city as essential business in order to receive CARES Act funding currently being withheld by the state. Do we have a motion to rescind resolution number 3964? Once again, I will ask, do we have a motion to rescind resolution 3964? That motion has failed by lack of a motion. That resolution has failed by a lack of a resolution. So we will go on to the next item, city manager's announcements. You have any announcements, Marissa?
Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to make an motion that we reaffirm resolution number 3964. I know we don't have to, but I think that's making a statement, and I think that we should have the vote on that.
I think by doing a lack of a resolution, that just pretty much reaffirms that
I
resolution.
know, but that's my resolution, and I'd like to see if we can make that pass too.
Council, is that your choice or no? That's not my choice. That's the council's choice. Does council, any discussion on this item? Mario, can we do that right now or no?
Yeah, you just need a second.
Okay, you have a motion. Do we have a second on that issue?
I'll second.
You have a motion and a second. May I have roll call, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Ramsey,
Aye.
Councilmember Singleton,
Aye.
Councilman Atkinson,
Aye.
Councilwoman Stoles,
Aye.
Mayor Lander.
No. Okay, our next item, thank you. Our next item is city manager's announcements. We have any announcements, Marissa?
I just wanted to make sure that the council is aware that we do have a closed session item after this, and I had sent separate login information for the closed session call. So you would have to disconnect at the end of this meeting and then call in for closed session.
Okay. Our next item is council members' announcements. Any council members have any announcements? Hearing none. Mayor's announcements. Oops, wait a minute. I have none.
One more comment came in by Jerry McLeod, I believe. Jeff, will Coalinga get all of the $212,000?
Okay. Our next item is future agenda items. Any future agenda items, council? Okay. Our next item is closed session. We have one item, that's conference with legal counsel, initiation of litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9C1. It's one case. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you for your participation and attendance.